Shall we play a game?
G'day viewers. Oh, that was a bit of a thing. Hello Mark B. Hello CNW. Hello other people who are watching. Welcome to another Sunday morning stream. Today we're going to be looking at the Flying Scotsman. How's my sound levels? That looks about okay. Maybe a little loud. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. What are we going to do? Yes. This is the one. Raising the Shed. The scenario inspired by Big Boy's rescue of a freight train. Hello, Len Wiggins. Welcome. Good to have some people from the UK. Today you'll be operating this rail tour service to Peterborough. Conditions are looking stable for now, but it looks like it might get worse as the day progresses. I've been watching with vague amusement the people saying the sounds on the Flying Scotsman aren't quite right. Because I hate to tell them this, but they are. Very much so. Let's get our doors open. Let's go have a look. We have the nice air compressor running, which the Flying Scotsman has today. Why don't we put some lamps on this thing? I don't think we actually need any, but let's stick some on. Because it's fun. Excuse my jiggly thumb. It's a bit... It's never good first thing in the morning, and I have a trackball that I operate with my thumb, so it makes life difficult. It's the joys of getting old. Your hands don't quite do what you want them to anymore. I've got one that we call chuck hand because it just throws stuff randomly, and I've got the other one, it's just, yeah, interesting. Anyway, enough of that. Yes, this was inspired by an actual stalled train, so this scenario started development when Big Boy did its thing and rescued one of the freight trains in the US, and we started this chat in the Flying Scotsman thing about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did that? Hello, Neil TV8, and guess what? It happened. So it's pretty cool. People seem to have finished getting in, well, apart from those ones who just got out again. I guess they don't want to go on the rail tour after all. They probably looked at their driver and went, ew, we don't want him driving. Rightio. Set the regulator to 10%. They're very guided in the scenarios, aren't they? Let's just find the right spot. Sorry, mate, I've just got to fiddle with your leg for a minute. There it is. Right. Ooh, there's been a patch. Excellent. Alright, something else we better do. You know, you always do this when you get into a locomotive. You check your glasses with a quick test just to make sure that they're actually both reading true and that the water rises smartly in the glass and that they agree. And these ones do. Fantastic. Alright then. Set the regulator to 10%, huh? That's a bit obsessive. How about 12? Let's watch the beastie as it starts to accelerate. I've had a couple of chuffs. We can close our cylinder cocks now. Game sound loud enough, folks? Or do you want a bit more? I haven't actually adjusted it today. In fact, it's looking quite low. How's that for people? Start bringing back into the cab. We'll start bringing our reverser back now. I saw someone say that this was upside down the other day, but no, it's not. It's a Grizzly, and they're this way up. We don't want to accelerate too hard here because we are in a 25 zone, but we're just creeping up as steam engines do. How's the sound now? Hello, the simulator guy. Welcome. The only thing I think is missing on the Scotsman is pretty obvious right there. Can you spot it? Maybe if I turn around sideways, you'll see it. There's one thing I think is missing. Can you figure out what it is? I think you've probably figured it out by now. Yes, the smoke and steam's only coming out of one of the stacks. This is a dual stack locomotive, so it should be coming out of both. But as they say in the classics, that's okay. Let's bring our reverse up back towards the middle now. Low 30s seems to be where this locomotive is pretty happy. We can start powering up now. Slow and gentle is the way to go. That's it, definitely Lynn Wiggins. Sounds good, that's good. Hello, Ant-Man. Why do you always end up in a tree when you do the 8 camera? In a tree, behind a pillar, under a building. In the water once, on Vorarlberg I ended up under the water. That was kind of funny. Pull back a bit and watch this motion, because it is quite nice. Let's go in a bit so we don't have to look at the quaternary so much. It was almost a late start today, because I was sitting out the front of my house chatting with one of my neighbours, and yeah, I looked at my watch and went, ah! How is my cold doing? That's an interesting question. I went to the doctor yesterday, and it turns out that I have bronchitis and tonsillitis simultaneously, and I'm now on an amazingly large dose of penicillin. Now, I wanted to show you guys some stuff in this locomotive. First up is the quartered buffers. They're not untextured, they really are like that in real life. And if I can get her to go in underneath, which sometimes I can and sometimes I can't, I might have to switch to 2 camera and try this. Let's see if I can get the 2 camera to do it. There we are. They actually modelled the crankshaft for the 3rd cylinder. Just turning this down for me because I'm probably shouting at you. This is cool. I like this, that someone went to the extent of actually modelling the crankshaft for the 3rd cylinder. It's just kind of magic. When I come out under here, it's probably going to throw me somewhere, so... I know, letting me look. So I'm quite happy with the modelling that they've done. How are we going for speed? 55. That's pretty good. So I quite like. The motion I think is really, 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 really good. I love that the little lubricators are ticking away and they look quite realistic. They feel really nice. So a lot of effort went into this thing in animating it correctly. And I think this is probably the one steam engine that they could do with worldwide appeal because, I mean not worldwide appeal, but at least UK, USA and Australia, because it's been to all 3 of these countries. Cruising along 60 mile an hour, managing the upgrade quite happily. Nothing much happens on this scenario for quite a while because we have to get all the way down there before anything really interesting happens. My rail driver clicking off again. We do have a fireman these days. Fireman doesn't do much in the Scotsman, but I guess that'll come one day. Ant-Man 65, just watched the BLS review, is critical regarding the buffer texture. Thanks for explaining that one. Yeah, if you have a look at photos of the buffers from NRM, then, yeah, it's quite real. They actually do this every trip. They polish it. And I know that Matt loves his, well, actually moments to the people who say that it's wrong, because it's clearly not, because I've seen it in quite a few photos. I too thought that it was wrong when I first looked at it, and then started looking at some photos and went, no, that's pretty good actually. We should probably be whistling by now. I think we're just passing a road. Shh. We're a bit late, don't worry about it. No one will know. It's okay. Hello, Rolliston Rails. How are you? Kia ora to you as well. If you're not familiar with Kia ora, it's a New Zealand greeting of hello. This zoom is going to hit me in the face, isn't it? That felt uncomfortable. Smacked in the face by an Azuma and ground up down the side. been chatting with a couple of other people who have watched some of my content on Flying Scotsman that I've put out so far, going, it sounds totally wrong. Well, I've heard the raw recordings. No, it doesn't. The only thing that I think's missing from the sound is on the footplate itself, there's a really deep vibration that you feel and hear on the footplate. And it's not in the sound set at all, but I kind of think that unless you had $2,000-$3,000 headphones or a really good surround system with really good subwoofers, that you probably never hear it anyway, because it's sub 20 hertz. And most sound systems and most headphones simply can't do below 20 hertz. It's like 4 hertz, something of 4 to 5 hertz. And it's the long waveform vibrations that you get. Let's see if I can get up a little bit. The road fire is still a little dim, but it's a lot better than it has been in previous ones. See, they've got a bit of a glow on the arch now, which is quite good. Quite like that. You know, not having any of this stuff on top, it's a good deal for a steam engine, because do you know how long it takes me to get the oil and shit out of my hair after I've had a day on the footplate? Like most rail tours, the scenario starts out with a lot of nothing, really. Nice super elevation on that corner. Back into the cab. So we're doing a good cruise, just flying along at 60 mile an hour. She will do 100, quite capable of it. Hello, Michael Newberry, welcome. Rolleston is currently at golf, but it's real wet, so I have chickened out. I can understand that. I played golf in high school, but what we used to do is we used to get into the school and go to the course, and we'd play some of the front 9. Then we'd climb over a mate's back fence that lived next to the golf course, and we'd spend the afternoon at his house. And then we'd climb back over the fence, and we'd play the last few in the back 9. So the teachers thought we were on all the time. And once again, we're in a tree. Thanks, 8cam. I don't know how you'd write a software rule that said the 8cam's not allowed to ever appear in a tree, but, you know. Give her the beans, you reckon, Rolleston Rails? Let's give her a bit more. Driven 10 miles. I think it's more than that, but maybe in this build that's probably right. I think I've probably done closer to 1,000. How am I enjoying my real-life steam tour of duty? I have my first solo trip that's not an assessment this coming weekend. I'm taking out the NGG 16. Sorry, yeah, 129. The Garrett. And it freaks me out a little bit, to be honest with you, because I have ridden the Garrett once. Azuma. And I've fired it twice. So it's going to be a bit of an experience. I'm out with a pretty good guy. He's one of the on-the-job trainers. We have a yellow signal coming up, I think. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm just going to ignore it. Neil, I just noticed your comment about the patch. Check and see if the Q key is bound to the AWS lever, because it wasn't when this came out. And it clearly is now. I still haven't seen the yellow signal. I'm watching out of the cab here. Stick my head out. I haven't got any hair to mess up. That's gone green. Very good. Don't have to worry about it then. Keep cruising along at 76 mile an hour. You actually can get to 125 in the Scotsman. I'd do that in the training centre if I were you. Because you can. Just leave it going round and round and round and round and round, and it will actually get up over 125 after a while. She doesn't suffer the issues that the Jubilee and the 8F suffer when they get up to speed, so the animation fails. I love the reflective sides on this thing. Quite good. Anybody else notice the 3 camera doesn't get hit by things as much anymore? It used to get bashed by things like the 2 camera does. The 2 camera still hits things. But the 3 camera seems to be made more of an imaginary camera now, like a drone. Neil says his did press before. That's good. And Neil says there was an issue, AWS volume was too quiet. I haven't had that problem in Scotsman, but I have in the Azuma. Currently doing right on the speed limit, just hovering on 74 miles an hour. C&W says make this thing go as fast as an ACS 64 AM7 HHP8. Well, given that this is miles an hour, could it get up to that kind of speeds? Probably not. Just going to bring the regulator back there a little bit now because we are doing the speed limit. It does sound nice. I like having the sounds completely cranked up myself. I don't when I'm streaming though, because I end up shouting at people, which is unpleasant for you guys. If you listen, there's just so many little clanks and groans and stuff thrown into it, which is quite cool. I'm still of two minds about the steam chest gauge, which is this one up here. Can I get near it? Let's go in the cab. So, I'm still of two minds about this one. How realistic that one is. Haven't quite decided yet, but the others seem to be pretty much spot on. C&W thinks it sounds like an Evo in Notch 4. Well, steam engines when they're going flat out do start to achieve the same kind of RPMs that high-speed diesels do, so I guess that's not too surprising. This one really is yellow, so let's drop our regulator back and put on just a little bit of brakes. Wake up the people who have made their home next to the roads there. Little backwards brakes. And asks if DTG is still working on improving the particle effects. I believe there's plans, but I don't think they're actively doing anything at the moment, but they do want to improve things over time. Pretty much there. This is where it's going to give us the bad news that every steam driver is going to quietly go, yes! acknowledged TPWS before. Maybe I didn't. That's what the buzzing was. I'm hearing this buzzing noise going, what's that? Oh, it's just me. Still got a little bit of power on, just to keep her moving. C&W asks, why do steam locomotives clunk? That's actually quite easy to answer. Let me just stop for this red signal. But basically all of the motion, all of the side rods and things that you see, they're all a little bit loose deliberately. They can all move from side to side. It appears an incident has occurred on the line ahead, which means you'll have to bring the train to a stop. Stop the train at the next station and see if any of the station staff there can update you on the situation. Very good. But let's just pop outside, so let's have a look at... Let's come down a little, shall we? Right, so all of this stuff that's moving, all of these things have a little bit of sideways movement in them. And that's quite deliberate. It stops the locomotive tearing itself to pieces, and that's the clanking you hear as all the things sort of move from side to side as the steam engine moves. And having that looseness is really important because the wheels themselves, I'm just keeping an eye on that signal, the wheels themselves are actually free to move from side to side a little bit and up and down quite a lot. And they also, in the game, they're all fixed, but in reality they shift like this. Now that's coming. There is a new suspension system that's coming, but it's not, excuse me, not there yet. That's so much fun. Hello, CCT Mitch. Ah, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. Just clanking along in the Flying Scotsman. How do you stick your head out the window? If you have the in-cab view, so you're in the one key, you're in the driver's seat, you just press the left arrow on your keyboard. If you're on a... Yeah, I think you can actually do this if you're on a controller. I'm beginning to wonder where this red signal actually is, because I haven't seen it yet. It's gone green because we've getting diverted into the platform. Whoops, back into this view. We have a day on October 29th together, do we? Ah, excellent. Probably not on the same train, I don't think. So I can't have trainees with me for 6 months. But I'm out on the Garrett this coming Saturday or Sunday, I'm not sure, one or the other, with Gavin, for my Garrett endorsement. Thank you, Ant-Man. It's been quite an incredible journey, and I have to say that an awful lot of the two training drivers, Graham and Gavin, and all of the firemen and all the drivers I've worked with have been absolutely amazing, and they go completely out of their way to make sure that you have both a good day and a learning day. It's been really cool to be part of it. Retford Station now. C&W says, I bet Aidan will be thrilled to see you on the footplate of the Garrett. Yeah, quite possibly. Just crawl in. Might not actually make it, I think. I might just give her a little bit of food. I do kind of want to actually make it into the platform. The sounds have been timed properly to the 3 cylinders chuffs, up to about 60 miles an hour, and then it just sort of descends into a dull roar, which is pretty much what you get on a steam engine anyway. You don't really hear the individual sounds so much after those speeds. And they're all real. They were all recorded with the NRM on Flying Scotsman. I've heard some of the raw recordings. And I actually like the way she sounds. There's been a couple of people commenting on the Scotsman content I put up that some other people are doing new sounds for it. And to be honest, I don't think you need to. I think she's pretty good. But if that's what floats your boat, then by all means, do whatever it is that you think you need to do. Are you really going to make me go all the way up there? You are, aren't you? Alright then, we will. Now it's going to get mad at me if I don't open the cylinder cocks. In real life, you don't necessarily open the cylinder cocks when you come to a stand. It's only if you're going to be there for a little while, because you don't want anything condensing in your cylinders. Love the air compressor sound. Very welcome to have this on a train. Trainmaster says, not going to lie, Flying Scotsman sounds amazing. And C&W says, give me some wheel slip. No, not right now. Maybe later. This should be close enough. Give it a proper full service brake, or as we call it, an equalising application, and get our reverser back to mid-gear, because that's the right way to leave a locomotive. And let's hop up and go and visit our little man outside. Actually, something I didn't do earlier, which I should do. I like to turn on the cab light in the steam engine, because you may need to if you get into a tunnel. Notice I haven't opened the doors to let the people out, because they're not meant to. G'day, brother. How you doing? Oh, I'm sorry to say that one of the Class 66 has failed just up the line. Must be the one driven by... who will I pick on today? It is now blocking both road and rail traffic. We have contacted the signaller and arranged to have another locomotive assist with hauling the failed service to its intended destination. However, that locomotive will not be here for a while, and this breakdown is causing delays. Please could you use your locomotive to push the failed train into the passing loop so we can at least get traffic unblocked? Of course we can do that. Now, as it happens, this, the funny thing about this is going to make me get in the driver's seat. That's going to make me get out again to uncouple, but that's okay. See? That's fine. The fireman would normally do this anyway, and we'd pop into the coach and put a handbrake on. Sorry, folks, we're going to leave you all behind. No, I don't want a lamp. I want to uncouple. I actually have to go around the other side, don't I? Might have to go around the other side. Let's do that. Down we get. Clunk. Sure we're not going to get run over by an Azuma. Somewhere around here. God. I think I did succeed in uncoupling it then, but it's not quite what I meant to do. That's okay. Let's get up here. One door, open. Climb up. And let's get the door closed, because there's nothing quite like falling out of your steam engine at speed and standing on the side of the track going, well, bugger. Alright. Now, C&W wanted some wheel slip. Let's see what happens. Will it actually do it? That's the thing. There you go. You got your wheel slip. Now we've got that out of your system. Let's take off a little more sedately. Watch all of our just disappointed rail fans going, hey, we want to come too. I love the overflow coming out of the injector pipe there. That's quite cool. Proceed on our way, shall we? Go and get this train. We're not allowed to go as fast because we're heading towards a failed train. Little Flying Scotty. We've got to keep an eye out for this failed train now. Trains, kits, etc. says floor it, spin those wheels. I want to hear the sound effects for slipping. We are now cruising along at an appropriate speed to be approaching the back of a train that's failed. In reality, the appropriate speed would probably be about 5 miles an hour. You need to be able to stop short, and at 40 miles an hour it's actually a little bit quick. But we fortunately will see a red signal. Hello TOC, how are you? And yes, C&W, Mr. Trains, Kits, etc. also wanted to hear the slipping. How are you feeling, by the way, Trains, Kits, etc.? TOC, yes, this actually has happened, and the inspiration for this scenario is Big Boy helping a failed freight train maybe a month and a half ago. A little bit of looping comes into the whistle sound sometimes, and I'm not a big fan of, but mostly it's good. It seems to depend on what the game's doing. If the game does a garbage collect while the whistle's playing, it goes beep. There's a little bit of a squeak to it. I didn't know 844 had also done that. C&W, that's good to know. Thank you. Here's our first yellow signal. Ready, mate? All good? Plenty of water? Good. Just thinking of the Garrett on Saturday, Mitch. I was thinking through in my head, how do I fire that thing? Because I've been so busy learning NAs, I really haven't learnt the Garrett. And now I have to fire it by myself. So it's going to be a learning day, I think. Andy wants it to be my endorsement day, but I'm not completely certain it'll actually be an endorsement day. We'll see how we go. We shall see. Where is this yellow signal we're watching for? Ant-Man says, Unreal does have its limitations. Yes, it does. Hello, NJT. Welcome. I have had the amusing discussion with someone. I actually like what the chuffs are doing now, by the way. This is quite good. Opening the regulator a little when near mid-gear, I quite like it. You hear 3 chuffs, 1, 2, 3 for each of the cylinders. I like it. NGT says, how do you get that cool HUD on the left, and how do you turn the safety systems on Scotsman? Turning the safety systems on, let's deal with that one first. Down behind the fireman's leg. Down there. If I can just get on it. Sorry for fiddling with your leg, mate. There's a switch down there, just behind his knee, that you've got to turn or lift up. Just pay attention, because I've got yellow signals coming up, and we're coming up to the back of a dead train, so I'll just pay attention for a little while. Once we couple up to the other train, or at least stop, I'll step over that side of the cab and show you the switch. And as for the cool HUD, if we go into settings... Just fix my mouse. Under accessibility, there's the HUD type, and you set it to minimal, and you can set which things you also want. So set it to small, and under HUD and gameplay, there's a few other things. So I turn off lots of stuff, turn off lots of markers, turn off the next speed limit HUD and the next signal HUD. Turn on the track monitor, which is the one on the top right-hand side. And I've got the safety system helper on. Not so much because I need it, but just to show it to people. So that's how you get those HUDs. I actually love the HUDs because they force you to use the indicators from the train to know how fast you're going and to know how you're operating. I really like it. The only thing I would like is the track monitor that's on the top right hand corner up there. I would like that to show the station stops. So if you also think it should show the station stops, I believe there's a thread on the forum for feedback for the new HUD. Please tell them to go and put the station stops on the track monitor. I'd also like it to show the gradients, but, you know, one thing at a time, huh? We're about to get an AWS go off. You don't need to do your ejectors on this train, by the way. So don't open these valves, a large ejector and a small ejector. If you open those, you'll end up in the poo, you'll end up with a stuck train. You'll have to... if you do that, by the way, down here, let me step back in, down here there's a valve to release the vacuum chamber. You just yank on that and your train will be able to move again. You only need those valves if you're using not air brake stock, so vacuum stock. Hello Andrew Sexton, welcome along. First stream that you're watching. Well done. Cool. How are people finding the game, by the way, if you've got TSW4? If you don't have it, are you thinking about getting it? Are you adamant you're not going to get it? Are you in the crowd of people that's really angry about TSW4? Your views are welcome, your views are valid. My personal view on it is simple enough. There's two factors to it. One is that if you buy TSW4, particularly if you bought it in early access you've got 3 routes for the price of 1 and a bit. And if you buy it outside early access, you're getting 3 routes for the price of 2, which is quite pleasant. But the other factor is really, really simple. Dovetail Games employs 100 odd people, and the fact is the game's not profitable, and you can't keep going on for years and years and years and years and years with an unprofitable game because your company will fold. And we, the players, keep demanding all these new features. And because we want all these new features, or we want things that were talked about years ago, they have to be funded somehow. So I have no objections. And yes, I know I get this thing for free because it's not really free. So all the people that tell me I get it for free, yes, I don't pay for it. But I spend an awful lot of time making tutorials and I spend a lot of time betaing this thing. So it's not really for free. It's a hugely off-balance equation because I put so much time and effort into it. And the other ambassadors do too. So not many of the ambassadors are in beta. Neil is. I wouldn't say that, Neil, but you are. Some people don't mind people knowing. We're allowed to say that we're in it, we're just not allowed to talk about it. You do put a lot of time into the game, so getting it back is more about getting a reward for your efforts than it is anything else. We'll just come to a stand and then we'll ask the signalman if we can go ahead. Now, sadly, I really wish, and let's just try it in case they've patched it. No, you can't activate the phone. I would like to be able to activate the phone in the GSMR for the signalman, but as it is, you have to resort to the tab key. Proceed at restricted speed. Alrighty. So the game doesn't yell at me. Now at this point, I always save because I have a unique level of trust. But back to the conversation I was having before about paying for this thing. We want new stuff. I think it's fair that we pay for it, and it's fair that we keep putting food on the table for all of these people that work for us. Effectively, I should bring my back towards me here. Now we're just going to crawl along, because in real life you would not go quickly approaching a disabled train. Ready for some major shoveling, mate? No, you're not, you never actually shovel. I don't know how you even get dirty, dude. You look like me on the day of firing. It's actually really funny. On the day of my assessment, Gavin came up to me on the platform and said, "You need to wear clean overalls on the footplate, mate." And I was like, well, they started clean. I'm just very good at getting dirty. Wow. That was fun. Excuse me. Oh, I really should mute that, shouldn't I? It's terrible of me. I apologise for coughing in your ears. I'll try and hit the mute button next time. Here's our trains. We'll warn them that we're coming. NJT says free roam is great for creating dioramas. It's awesome for setting stuff up for photos, isn't it? It's really cool. I've started doing some experimentation with free roam and then saving it and restoring it, and I've had partial success in it. So I'm sort of looking at it as a way to make ad hoc scenarios, because if you could publish the save files, and I'm not quite sure how well this is going to work, but I kind of got this idea in the back of my head that if I publish the save files, then other people could play it where I've left off. Kind of interesting. Lee Wiggins says it's by far the best one. Yeah, I think that there's made a lot of advances in this. I think an awful lot of work's gone into this. I'm just going to stop short, just because that's what you should do. Like we're all ready to go, except we'd stand on this side, because we'd stand on the outside, not the inside. At this point, there'd be other personnel here. You wouldn't be doing this on your own. Get those pristine buffers a bit grubby. Right, let's go in and couple her up. Get the spot. There we go. Lovely. Now it takes a little while to pump the air up. And if we're up at the front end of this thing, which it's not going to let me go to the front end, okay? We've got to wait a little while for the air to pump. So we'll release the brakes. We'll just start giving it a bit of regulator, but we won't go crazy because it takes a little while to pump. We still haven't completely released our brake yet. So we'll be here a little while it's getting ready to push. Well, I can catch up with the chat in the meantime. We've talked about Len. New York Texas Railroad says they're really enjoying the F125. That's good. I quite like it too. It's an interesting route, that one, actually, going out to Lancaster, because it's got... What is happening with that rock? There's a rock all wiggly up there. Oh, it's a tree that's all wiggly. Well, okay. That's like it's in a big storm or something. Fair enough, huh? Maybe it's fair enough, maybe it's not. Anyway. Yeah, the F125's fun. The Lancaster route's really cool. It's kind of this cross between a hectic passenger commuter route and some quite long runs towards the Lancaster end of the route, which is it's quite interesting. There's a bit of single track action, which is fun. There's a bit of freight action that you have to work your way around, which is also fun. Let's see if we can get her moving now. So I think the brakes have pretty much released, so hopefully we can get her to actually go. Just pop it this way. Well, looks like we're getting somewhere, so I'll close the cocks. Too much, got some wheel spin. Are we rolling backwards? I think we are. Let's get some sand going. Might have to stop again. It's actually quite hard to get this going, to be honest with you. Now let's just stop her again. See how we go. Come on. Get some grip, little one. Get some grip. You can do it. You can do it. You can get some grip. Maybe you can't. Actually, what I should do is do this with the independent brake. And I'm going to come off full forward gear and come back a little bit so she's a bit weaker. Now, the brake's charged up again. They look pretty good. Release my brake and let's see how we go this time. When you play this scenario, expect this to be a little bit difficult because it actually is. Oh, we're getting somewhere. So the technique I used there was I stopped it with the train brake and then I put the independent brake on to let it charge. There we go. And I made it weaker by bringing my reverser towards mid-gear. Because in full forward it was just too much. You couldn't get the grip. Hello, Andy. I'll just catch up and chat in a moment. Let me just finish getting this moving. We're playing the raising the shed scenario. Now the only annoying thing about this one is it's a bit hard to tell what the signals are actually doing. See if I can get her going without slipping. Just sit here. Sooner or later I get smacked in the face by the zoomer. We're getting her going. We're getting our failed shed moving. Weird, isn't it? We've got a transparent Scotsman in the tunnel. That's a bit of a light bake fail, that one. Oh, well, I'll point that out to them on the VOD. So this is how many minutes into the stream? 1 hour 20. Let me bug that. That didn't look very good at all, did it? Pen. Quaint old-fashioned thing, a pen. That out and I'll submit a bug for that. I think that's an important one to get addressed. If you're wondering where the wind cheater and the t-shirt I've got came from, Dovetail didn't give me these. I got permission to make them. The ambassadors that went to the event in the UK, which was a little bit hard for people like Neil and myself, because it's just too expensive to get there, they got given stuff, and I felt left out, so I wanted one. So I got permission and I had it made. Where did we get to? Andrew Sexton downloaded it yesterday, did a quick run of the Grenfell Donny Class 8011, good, and found it okay, that's good. NJT says, you find it's funny there's always leaks for the new TSW games and it's always in May. Yeah, I'm and this feels weird because we're about to run through a red signal, but you know, the front of the train's already gone through it. I've never quite made up my mind. Are the leaks deliberate or are they really accidents? Now I know some of them have really been accidents because someone says something on a live stream or something like that and you see their face and they just go. Those ones I reckon are real. But some of the others, I kind of wonder, are they marketing? Bit of this, bit of that, I don't know. But that's alright. Andrew Saxton says, saw this loco getting overhauled at the National Rail Museum in York back in 2004 or 2006 and got photos of it. It was just a chassis. Isn't it really interesting to see them in pieces? You can see all the bits. I quite enjoy it. I love going into our workshops and meandering around. We have some restrictions on photography in our workshops. You've got to ask permission, and if you're going to post them anywhere, you have to get them vetted before you do, which I don't mind. But it's just a bit of effort that you have to go to. So we're starting to get up some decent speed now that we're going downhill. In reality, if you were propelling a train, you wouldn't actually take it up to full line speed anyway. But we do have a fair way to take this, so I am going to speed up a little unrealistically, just so we're not doing this forever. Because the reality of propelling is you would normally go much slower. If the locomotive on the front was pulling and you were banking on the back, you could run at full line speed. That wouldn't be an issue. Because there's the problem is the buffing with all the couplers and things. Neil TV8 says he enjoys messing around with photo mode. So do I. I think it's quite cool. If you haven't seen photo mode, let's why don't we just quickly show it? So if we get into a position that's vaguely what we want, and we go into the pause menu, and you go options, photo mode, and then you move around so you can get it just to the point that you want it. Let's get it in a nice point. It shows we're running a red signal and we're on the back of a train. So I think we need to go down a little bit, don't we? Ooh, in the weeds. In the weeds. There you go. That looks pretty good. So now if I get it over here and I'll put my trackball on fine mode. Let's just reduce our depth of field quite a bit and change our focal point. It's a bit finicky where you have to click on this thing. And about there, I think. That looks all right. And if you want to get a bit more colour into it, maybe. So you can go everything up to Trey Ratcliffe, down to a nice black and white. We might do a nice black and white shot for this one. Now let's just darken the outsides just a little, and then we take our screenshot and save and upload. I shouldn't have done that. Now I have to wait for it. It takes a little while. It's quite a big file that it's pushing up, actually. So do that. Come out of the photo mode now, back out of pause mode. Success! So that's now up on my profile on Dovetail Live for people to look at. I'd love it if you could run the game in black and white, like you can in Train Sim Classic. That'd be fun. Sit up here so we get smoked. Just keep an eye on signals and things that are coming up, which is very handy because, of course, the top right-hand corner, I have to go the other way, the top right-hand corner, I've never realised I'm backwards. So that's my left shoulder. This is my right shoulder. I never noticed I'm backwards. I'll have to look at my properties and see why that is. It's mirrored me. Ah, it's kind of funny. Andrew Saxton would like to see a Class 55 for this route. Every locomotive is a welcome locomotive. That's a road. Next time we get some water, I want to show you the water on this route, because the water on this route and Vorarlberg are both really nice. Finally, some proper Unreal water. Neil Tibbetts has seen trees in ALV dancing in the storm. Yeah, the trees do funny stuff sometimes. It's kind of interesting. NJT says the Lancaster route just shows how depressing schedules are on US commuter roads outside the East Coast. 22 trains a day, weekday only, 11 in each direction for the second busiest line. Yeah, look, trains aren't that big in California, really. They just aren't. There are some exceptions to that, like BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, where they run hundreds and hundreds of services every day. It's a huge network and they're very, very busy. But even they could run probably 5 or 6 times the trains they do. They just don't have the demand for it, so they don't. BART's in an interesting place right now, actually. They're out to tender to replace the control system they've had since 1964. Since before the railway opened, they built this thing with a new one. So that's a pretty big thing for BART. It's going to be a big journey. There's a lot of very old engineers that are very, very set in their ways in BART. I remember that from working with them. And it's going to be a very interesting project. It seems so wrong to be driving straight through a red signal like this. It's just kind of funny. We're currently doing about 60 mile an hour, which is way fast for what we're doing. that's okay. And Neil TBA says Scotty is very weak for freight. Yeah, it's designed for high-speed running, so it's not actually good at moving heavy things and getting them started. It's designed to run fast. And in steam engines, you had a choice. You had powerful, but not very fast. Or not very powerful, but very fast. Those were your choices. You would assume in this case the 66 would actually be honking for the crossing, but you never know. Far are we away from this thing? Not too far. You'd assume the 66 was working well enough that it actually could make air for its horns. I hope. NJT says Lancaster is the second busiest Metrolink line. Yes. Neil TV8 says, reminds me of the ice in the train wash in Munich. Yeah, it's a bit funny. And epilepsy warning, yes, that tunnel was a bit weird, wasn't it? Norfolk Sutton says, do Metrolink, please. Well, today's all about Scotsman, but we'll see how we go for time. Brad says, hi Paul, enjoying your stream. Had to look up who Trey Ratcliffe was. I actually know Trey. I've met him personally twice now. But I know him from a service that has gone by the wayside, as many things do in Google, the Google Plus social network. Lasted for quite a few years. It was a good service until it started to... they started to make some changes that were a bit unpopular, and people bailed on it, and it was kind of like Elon Musk's Twitter. Everybody's bailed and run away, because, yeah, nobody likes that kind of change. Ant-Man says he likes running the Weardale and Teesside TSC route in Sepia. I could understand that. That'd be cool. NJT says, I couldn't believe that the Vorburg route had a branch instead of being linear. That's quite an interesting route, Vorburg. I'm not quite sure if I'm saying it correctly when I say Vorarlberg, but, you know, people get the idea. Doing more than... We're doing 77 miles an hour. We haven't got far to go, so I think I should probably start slowing down, just saying. And we've got some yellows coming up, so I think it's time to start slowing this beast down a little bit. Or we're going to be in the poo, because we're going to shoot straight through the siding out the other end. It's not going to be a good look. Some more brakes, actually. Let's go a full surface brake application here. NJT says we can recreate the Scotsman's US tour on the Antelope Valley route. Certainly can. And you can put it places where it never went, like the Northeast Corridor as well. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't done that. Alright, we've got the speed down now. Let's get the regulator back open a bit. Because I'm going to stop otherwise. I might stop anyway. At least I'm on the flat this time. Alright, we'll just sit here. The brakes will recharge and it'll start moving. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. We'll just leave it here. Let's go run up in front of the train. Pretty good rough hand spot, wouldn't it? Up here on the bridge. In the way of the cars. Hello. Just stop oil. No, stop oil. Silly idea. I was saying just stop coal next. You're going to get moving? It's an interesting question. Don't hear much sounds of it moving. Scotsman? Pull one out of the bag. I reckon she's slipping. Let's go back out the back. Oh, she is slipping. Alright. Well, let's try again. There we go. I like the compressor stops when it's charged up the brakes too. Yeah, I agree, NJT. We can put Scotsman on the Metrolink route. Then it's still a Scotsman stream. We'll run a rail tour on Metrolink. There you go. Do it with free roam and jam it in the timetable somewhere and upset everybody. Don't have to worry about this first red signal. We can go straight through that one. That's fine. But we want to... I want to come up here and see where this siding is, because I don't think it's very far away. So we've got another crossing. Actually, it's quite far away, isn't it? We don't have to worry about that red signal that's coming up. This signal here, which is currently red, will change to green as we approach, and the diverge will come on. And then we come into the siding up here. So we've got a little while to go yet. Jumped the gun on the stopping a little bit too early. But as they say in the classics, that's okay. Maybe. I'm so confused why I'm backwards. I don't have I'm going to mess this up now because I don't know what's going on with see any way of making it flip. Don't have any controls for that. I'll look into it later. While we're not running it towards a red signal. We very much are at the moment. I can't go up the front. It should change as we approach it. I'm only doing 18 miles an hour, so I'll be able to stop if I have to. Should go green. It says here backing off the regulator just in case. You realise, of course, we're going to have to make up time when we go back and get our coaches. I think. Did I just go the wrong way? I did, I went away from the train. Dummy. On you. Change. Yay, there it is. Happy now. As a Malaysian friend of mine that I used to work with often says, happy lah. Cup is amazing. I'm not going to show you the brand because they're not sponsoring or anything, but it keeps hot drinks scaldingly hot. Hours. Now, as soon as we get into the back of the siding, the front of the train can look after itself. We've got the barber pole now. See the front of the train's going into the siding. Perfect. The caravan's lined up for the next Top Gear caravan train. If you don't remember what I'm talking about, Google Top Gear caravan train. It's quite funny. Stupid, but funny. Let's just get the brakes going on now because we don't want to overrun the end of this siding. I'm going to save because let's just say I've messed this up before. Wouldn't surprise anyone to know I've messed it up before. Save seems to work okay on this route, by the way. Not too fussed about exactly where this should stop, so I'm just going to stop it in the coloured part. I'm not worried about taking it all the way up the other end, because I don't think it'll make me... I'm on the flat anyway if I have to get going again. Yep. Let's do a full service application. And reverse in a mid-gear. You would most likely also set the independent brake. It's very important with the new scoring system, by the way, that you do climb down the locomotives, don't just jump out. There we are uncoupled. And now we're going to run backwards. Oh. Get rid of this one because we only need one flashy. And back in. Shut the door so we don't fall out. As happy with its sound effects in reverse. I think they're a little bit weird going backwards. See, now it sounds alright, but when you first start out it sounds a bit funny. Being up here, isn't it? Go back to here. Off we go back towards our train, which is rather a long way away. I'm not sure how fast Scotsman's supposed to run 10 to first, but let's just open her up anyway and make up some time. Ready pedestrians? Because no one would be expecting a train to come backwards. It's 60 mile an hour now. Lovely view out the side here. Mate on the other side shoveling. Oh wait, he doesn't. Be nice to get that animation going. Because she's not an automatic stoker. Pretty nice tearing along here. Watch the lubricators. Quite mesmerising. And they are modelled quite nicely. The only thing that struck me a bit weird on Scotsman, and I've looked at photos and videos, it's actually correct. The speedo thing that just sits there, it does have a mechanical arm. It's hard to see it in the when you're moving fast, but it just looks so weird. But apparently it is actually correct. It certainly looks like it is. Why do we have to go? Quite a way. And 65 says, no fireman animation was the right call until it can be perfected. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think it's better to not have it than it is to have a fireman sticking a shovel through the top of the firebox. Because the firehole door is in quite a different place to the other steam locomotives that have come out in the game. To see how Scotsman goes on the sales, because she's got a bit of a cult following. I kind of wonder, will people actually buy this game to get Scotsman? It's an interesting thing. I'm not sure. Earlier in the stream, someone talked about the someone reviewing the loco and talking about the buffers. If you wouldn't mind dropping me a link in my Discord to that that review, I'd be curious. Quick, we're doing some spirited running, making up some time to get back to our train, and we're certainly doing some spirited running after we get our train. We'll be doing some Flatneckosaurus. That was an interesting view. We're inside the firebox for a moment there. Halfway. One thing I noticed, by the way, is they've toned down the lighting in TSW4 in the TOD4, because it's not as washed out as it used to be. So we're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and in the previous routes in TSW3 this would have been quite overly bright. I still gut feel is still a little bright, but it's markedly better. Delphine, hello. What's happening? We're running backwards at 82 miles an hour to go and get our train, which we left behind a while ago to rescue another train. So we've finished the rescue and we're going back to our train now, to our disgruntled rail fans who are all sitting here going, but we wanted to come too. This would have been really fun to watch. Think of the photo opportunities. They'd be quite angry. Probably rightfully so, I guess. This might not be safe, says Alfie. I'm not actually... Well, we're doing 90 mile an hour, so yeah, probably not. I will start calming her down because... keep my regulator open just a little, just to keep my cylinders lubricated. Because you do want some steam going through them to pick up the lubrication oil. Otherwise they might seize, because we're not very far away. Using a pen, shouldn't I? Start slowing her down a lot, I think. Lots of locomotive brake. If that doesn't work, we'll resort to the other practice that you should never do on a mainline steam locomotive at this kind of speed, and use the reverser. So the speed's coming down quite happily. We're down to about 50 mile an hour now. Still got a little way to go. Solar panel farm that is one of my landmarks to know that we're getting back close, even though I keep checking the map. Still learning the routes. One of the interesting things about being involved in beta that I can talk about is how the routes evolve. When you first see it, they're not particularly scenic, and then they gradually just fill out. It's quite interesting to watch, but it means it's actually quite hard to learn the route. Crossing going to close when I'm going backwards? I don't know. We don't run over a car. No, closed. It's all good. DNW says he'll stick to TSW3 because he needs more time. Ant-Man says he prefers the Todd 3 in the original Riesa Dresden. That's interesting. Why do you prefer that? I thought Riesa Dresden was looking kind of nice, but I'm curious to see why you think that. I haven't spent a lot of time in it. I'm going to be totally honest about that. I think I've done 2 runs since it was updated. This signal that I'm worried about. It's the one on the other side. Alphen says, I just bought TSW4 but standard, so I have to wait. Ugh. Yes, no Scotty in standard, sadly. Scotty will come out as a DLC by itself. That has been announced. I'm not quite sure if timing has been announced yet, so I'll keep my mouth shut. TNW says, not going to bother asking for a key because there's no need for me to get the game yet. I don't want to pay for hundreds of dollars. Well, young fella, if you'd actually bought it on early access when you could have, you wouldn't be paying hundreds of dollars, would you? No, you would have paid $50. But yes, now if you want full deluxe edition, it's rather expensive for you. Proceed at restricted speed. Very good. And excuse me if I do this, just in case. Still not hundreds of dollars, though. Do I put the brake off? Maybe not. There she goes. That'll do. Train Simulator guy says he paid 42 USD for deluxe edition instead of 55. C and W? Not nearly as expensive as you're making out. Special edition's quite expensive, but there's rather a lot in the special edition, and a lot of people probably already have it. So the special edition is designed for people who don't have the game and who want to fill out a good strong back catalogue all in one go. Ant-Man65 says TOD3 for me is the right balance for day and especially night lighting. Run with TOD3 mods in older routes. That's fair enough. Alphine, that there are 4 different lighting systems that were developed over time. TOD1 is the original in CSX Heavy Haul, which was the first edition of the game, and that was a pretty raw Unreal Engine lighting. Wasn't awful by any means, but it wasn't brilliant either. Then with Train Sim World 2, they brought out Time of Day 2, so TOD stands for Time of Day, and that improved some of the lighting. And then came... Is it already on sale, Alfie? That's interesting. Are those people actually standing on the things? Oh no, they're standing on the platform. It's alright. I didn't know it was already on sale. Thank you for pointing that out. TOD3 came with Train Sim World 3, and TOD2 was quite dull, and they got a new engineer in who said that's not how you should be running Unreal. The reason you're having so much trouble with your lighting and your balance of night and day is that you're supposed to run Unreal at ridiculous brightness levels and tone it down everywhere. And they made that change, and people probably may remember that for a while signals and things couldn't be seen because the signals themselves weren't bright enough. They still have that problem with level crossings quite often, where they can't be seen because they're simply not bright enough. Buckle is right. That one's open at least. So one of them is. See, there are no emergency at all. Now that should have coupled up quite happily by itself. Looks like it did. Looks like the glad hands are a bit funny though, doesn't it? They're not quite aligned. Oh well. Why? What's this in this scenario? This is now 57, so I'll put in a bug for that too. Hopefully all our rail fans are aboard. Going to be a little while pumping up the brakes, so let's just give it a little gentle bit of regulator and we'll just sit outside and wait for it to do its thing, because it'll be just a little while it pumps. Oops, you know what we should do? We should... Perhaps it's not going to be as little while as I thought. I've got the other end on, fix my lamps. Done this in the platform, really. Make it awkward. Right. Oh, the high intensity lamp, that one, if I change this, by the way, if you put one of those on, it's quite a nice headlight. So when you're in the darkness. Okay, let's get going. Has anybody seen a train down there? I haven't seen one yet. I'm not sure if there's any AI down there or not. Alright folks, it's time for some spirited running. There for the moment. So it's 25% off on all editions on Steam. That's really cool. C&W says that's what I want so I can get the remade and updated NEC from 2020. Well, they're not doing an updated and remade NEC from 2020, young man. I don't know where you got that idea from. Her do her thing here and gradually speed us up, as Steam is wont to do. Oh, we didn't get to the final one, TOD4. Now, TOD4, they've changed the balance and there's a little bit of dynamics in it as well. So, TOD3, the balance of light between daytime and nighttime is static. So in the mornings and the afternoons and evenings, it looks beautiful. But during the day, it's quite bright. It's, to me, too bright. Ant-Man seems to like it, which is perfectly okay. But for me, it's too bright. And what they've done in TOD4 is during the day, the actual brightness levels come down a little bit. So it's the same in the mornings, in the evenings, and at night time as TOD3. But in the middle of the day, it's less bright. And I find this good. So when I'm in the cab looking out, I don't see a washed out mess. So it's always been okay if you're outside the cab, it's fine. Unreal adjusts. But from inside the cab, you would just see a washed out mess if you looked at the sky. Whereas now you don't. And I think that, for me, the balance is pretty much spot on now with TOD4. I quite like it. TOD3 was washed out because it used the same lighting values for the entire day and at night time. Put it on the roof. The term put it on the roof, by the way, just means open the regulator up all the way. Imagine if you went over a big bump, you'd stab yourself in the face with that thing. That would really hurt. So she won't accelerate much while we're going uphill, but she'll pick up the pace pretty well. And I think we're going full length on the route now, down to the other end. We'll end up going all the way down, so off we go. Offin says, I wish there were passenger views like in Train Sim Classic. Yes, that would be really cool. I would like that. You can ride as a passenger though. You can always walk up to a train and just hop in and be a passenger. But what you can't do is swap back and forth between being driver and passenger. I would find it interesting, and I don't know how well this would sell, so I don't know how they'd do it, if they'd do it, but I'd like to be able to rotate around all the roles, so be driver, fireman, guard, conductor on US trains. Just being able to flit around and do things, and when you're away from your locomotive, the game just takes care of it and it becomes an AI. I reckon that'd be cool. Ant-Man says TSC passenger view is fine if the passenger textures are good, which is rare. There are some very demented looking passengers in TSC, I have to say, with rather smudgy appearances where they've gone a bit weird. So yeah, it's kind of funny. When you can be a passenger in here, it actually looks quite good. The characters are quite reasonable and you can walk around, you can change seats. I keep waiting for the day that Will threatened for me at some point, because he's seen some of my streams where I sit down and I talk to the passengers, and he goes, one day I'm going to make one answer you. I was thinking, yeah, go for it. Dare you to. Because that would be so much fun. Alfine says, yeah, TOD3 is washed out. It's just because of the static lighting values. NJT says, what's your thoughts on progression of lighting in TSW from heavy haul days to now? I think we're at a pretty good spot now with TOD4. I quite like it. Heavy haul, while it was a flatter, darker lighting curve, I think did actually suit the area that CSX runs in. I think it was quite good, but using that same lighting model out on flat plains like this didn't work. What I would love to see is the shadows pop in a little further away. I'm running default ini settings deliberately because I want to show people what the game looks like. On PC we can have the luxury of setting these things further away so they don't pop in so much. But because other people can't do that, I don't like to do it. Oops. Sorry. Up to 65 miles an hour now. I'm actually going to bring the regulator back to about 85% because it actually seems to accelerate better at 85% than it does at 100. We are steadily picking up speed. We're about to hit 70. Just crossing the 70 mark now. Oh, we've got a yellow signal. Might actually have to slow down after all. My spirited running might be at an end, folks. Oh, it wants me to go by the platform. That's probably why. How close are we? Not very. Oh, it's gone green. It's all good. We shall keep running at Flatnack. We're up to 75 now. Going well. Alfine says, true Ant-Man, we need a passenger view in Train Sim World. Alfine, you actually have got one. If you walk into a carriage and sit down in an AI train, you can be a passenger all you want. Alfine says, anytime we can have a nighttime route. I don't often stream at nighttime because it doesn't come across that well. It's like watching lots of black. Whereas at least here I can do outside views and things and I can show people stuff. You can see things. Alfine says a dedicated guard mode would be so amazing. Yes, it would. It would be very good. I think that would actually be a bit of a seller because in reality there are a lot of people who guard on railways and that's what they love. And there are people on the steam railway I work on that are not interested in coming up the warm end of the train at all. They want to be down at the guard's end. I've known people who have been doing guarding for the last 30, 40 years and they just love it. They look forward to every single shift they do and they just really enjoy themselves. So we should cater to those sort of people. We're up to 87 miles an hour now. We're going to crack the ton soon enough. Just trying to get back on schedule here. NJT says the TSC serial killer. Oh yes, there are a few, aren't there? There are a few people on TSC with the faces that you look at and go, I'm sure I've seen you in court. Seen you on a documentary. NJT loves the New York City pictures. Spent some time in New York in 2017, 18 and 19. Was all set to go back in 2020, but we all know what happened. I quite like the city. I could live in New York quite happily, to be honest. I think I'd live just outside of New York. I'd go for somewhere like Brooklyn. But I don't know that I'd live in Manhattan itself. Little tiny apartments aren't my thing. Oh, there's another yellow. We're outrunning the dispatcher's ability to keep the signals green in front of us at the moment. Let's see if that changes. Otherwise, I'm going to do some really hard braking, because guess what? We're just about there. Got yellow followed by yellow. That's it. Brakes are on. Full service brake. Oh, it's gone green again. Well, maybe not. Alfred says, very nice R142A. There are some quite cool trains in the New York subway. I like the R32. I think that's my favourite. It's a really old one. There's actually one that still exists too in revenue service. It pulls the garbage train. The garbage train's quite fascinating if you've never seen it. It's basically a bunch of flat top carriages with all these skip bins in it. It stops at every station and they empty all the bins into it and then they go off to the next one. It runs at about 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning. Fascinating process. You just don't think about how do they empty the bins on railway stations, but a garbage train in New York makes a lot of sense because in the city itself, getting big trucks through the streets is just a nightmare. So using a train makes perfect sense. Our phone says CSX is dark and gloomy. I think it suits CSX though. We're back at that siding now. Oh, and I'm so pleased to see one of the fixes I asked for is in. I hadn't played it since that went in. Last time I played this train was gone by the time you came back here, and I said, where did it go? Did it rescue itself? So I'm so happy to see it's still there. Especially since we're cruising along at this speed. Go back to picking up a bit of speed too. The signals seem to be coping at this speed. NJT prefers an R142A converted to an R88. I think. Alfred says, kind of regret not getting the Scotsman. Well, come out. Also says, literally didn't care for TSW3 Deluxe, but wow, this looks so good. I'm really enjoying Scotsman. This is by far my favourite train. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. It looks great. Oops, what did I just do? It looks great, and it sounds great. But I think probably part of the other reason is, and I've still got this model somewhere, it's in one of my boxes, I've actually had a Flying Scotsman model in TT gauge, which is what, 1/140th or something like that, maybe 1/32 or something. And I've got one in HO, or I actually think it's probably an OO because it's an English one, so it's probably OO. And I've had that since I was a teenager. So I quite like this locomotive. I did see it when it came to Australia in 1988 for the bicentennial celebrations. And it's pretty well publicised that when it did its US tour it was in danger of being scrapped twice, but the same thing happened to it here, where the people that brought it out ran out of money and it just sat in a siding for a long time down near the docks. And the world's very lucky that it still exists, because it was on the verge of being sold for scrap. It would have been very, very sad for the universe. So easily have happened. Waiting for the gates to open. Curious if they do. No, I'm like there's another train coming. There they go. I'm going to have to go via. I do need to slow down. So we're going to go into the platform, which means we need to diverge at some point. Says the rent in Manhattan is insane right now, don't go for it. I'm not planning on moving, but like I said, I probably wouldn't live on Manhattan itself. I think I would probably be very happy. I have actually stayed in Brooklyn, and a very good friend of mine has an apartment in Brooklyn that I'm able to go and stay at anytime I want. I have to sleep on her couch, but the couch is roughly the size of an aircraft carrier, so it would actually be quite a comfortable couch. any issues with that. JT says crime is on a decline in the city. Might be a good time to visit. Yeah, it's growing on the other side of the country and dropping off on the east coast at the moment. Ah yes, the last at-level junction in the UK. There aren't any others of these anymore, I believe. Slow down because I kind of think we're going into the platform, which means we have to diverge. I don't want to spill everybody's coffee and tea back in the railfan set in the back. Delphine wonders if DTG might make a Polar Express for Christmas. I keep trying to get them to make Thomas. But I think it's beneath their dignity. It would sell so well. Actually, we're not going to have to diverge. I could have kept going flat stick. Well, that's alright. Start accelerating again. Going, why don't I get a cool train like that? Momentum is down there. Let's go back to flat stick land. JT says this route should have included the highly suggested King's Cross to Peterborough section with the Moorgate Branch and Hertford Loop line. Imagine King's Cross to Doncaster. I think that's true of every route, that there would always be some other part that would be cool to do. He's very casual, our driver, isn't he? Just sitting there with his arms down, leaning on the wall, having a great time. I think it's always true that there could be more things that people might want in a route. That's a yellow signal coming up. It's a good thing I'm only doing 45 mile an hour at the moment. It's like all steam trains, she doesn't accelerate that well on a hill. Right. No, it's gone green, it's alright. Trains, kids, etc. ask, can it be derailed? Anything can be derailed if you try hard enough, but I don't really want to. JT says that level junctions are a pain since they're super hard to maintain. They are, they really get smashed. It's also quite bad for the wheels and the wheel bearings. Signals while I'm doing this. I don't know why, I always just like seeing them open. I'm wondering if this one's going to. Do I abandon it. I do see my trains coming up on a yellow. Oh, there we go. That was a long one. To the point that I wondered if another train was coming. Alphine says we could see Thomas with mods since they technically don't need copyright. Yeah, yes and no. I think if you streamed it, you'd be in trouble. The Tel do protect their intellectual property rather heavily. Even fan channels get in trouble sometimes. The detail in the fields. So they learnt the lesson of Nidiltalban and saw what could be done. And there's some more programmatic replacement of crops and things, which is a bit more random than it used to be, which is quite cool. Alphone says, do you think we'll see any more MTA routes, and if so, which might we see? Look, the MTA routes sell quite well, so I would go with probably on the cards at some point. I personally would love to see an end-to-end New York subway route, including the yards. I think that would be absolutely awesome. My personal favourite would be the F from Coney Island, right through into the city. But probably the 7 would be a better seller. Seven's got, I mean, the F's got elevated, it's got subway, it's got surface. The 7's got a lot more elevated, it's longer, it's got a lot more outside. Let's face it, driving in a tunnel is not very exciting. I know some people love it, but seeing the same ribs come past all the time, I find it a little bit boring. Still going. Only 65. Ant-Man says, correction to his earlier post, Reese addressed him as Todd 2.5. Yeah, not sure. I don't actually know on that one. NJT says, heard this story that Boston Sprinter route was just a side project and one of the devs working on it to a real route. That's actually true. In the early days of the game, there were some people who got access to the what was to become the public editor. There's a bit of a pause there. And Brandon of Cactus Juice fame was one of those, and he actually built the Boston Sprinter route. But he only had track and signals, and he'd started getting all the signalling working. And yeah, it got taken on and became a real one. So I think we'll probably see more stories like that, now that there's going to be a public editor coming out very soon. They're working with Epic currently to get that out to people. Got a few more hoops to jump through before Epic will approve it and let it go out. One of the key things for the public editor is and it's what held it back originally, is that you would have had to have been an Unreal developer and sign up. You don't have to with this version. And that's probably why they're jumping through hoops with Epic. Ant-Man says he believes Todd 2.5 was only used in the 2 TSW2 Dresden routes. That's possible. I've got motion blur checked on. Clean says, love to see the 7 since it's a singular line and doesn't connect too much. and only uses one train type. My wish list is the Jubilee line, the 7 line of New York City MTA, maybe a port over at New Haven, New York. Yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't mind seeing the path too, from the World Trade Center out to New Jersey. I quite like that route. And they've already got most of it. So you could add it to Trenton. It could be a second version of Trenton or an extension to Trenton or something like that. No, I think that'd be really cool. And most of the track that's used is actually already there. So all they'd have to do is work out the third rail and path signalling, which is a bit different to the others, and build the path train. And build the underwater bit that goes into WTC. And if you wanted, if they took it the whole way, they could also take it up to 33rd Street. There's subway. So I think that would be kind of an interesting thing to do. Brad says, in anticipation of the public editor, I've started learning Unreal Engine Editor via online tutorials. That's a good idea. I wish I had the time to do that. At the moment in my day job, we're very close to delivering a system we've been working on for well, I've been working on it for a year and a half, but a lot of the team have been working on it for 2 years now. We're very close to delivering that. It's hard to find time for anything else. I mean, that's one of the reasons I got sick, is stress and the challenges over delivering that system. It's a huge, huge change for our organisation. It's affecting every single employee. So it's a whopper. And it's incredibly risky. And I'm in charge of the technical team for it. I lead a group of people who are doing the implementation itself and doing the data migration, and it's I can't tell you much more than that, of course, because I can't divulge those things, but it's very, very difficult, and it's made a lot more of this grey, let's say that. Trains, Kits, etc. says, be great to go to Puff and Billy in this, but multiplayer, set up to 3 drivers, 3 firemen, signalling roles available, it's run like a real-time table with real trains passing. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, Puff's, I don't see Puff ever getting developed in this game unless someone takes it on as a passion project, because it's a new track system. You've got to develop 2'6", which doesn't exist in this game. You've got to build locomotives that don't exist in this game, although the 4F is not a long way from a Baldwin, so you could take the 4F as your bones and make that work, I would think. And they've got the right motion gear, so get up there. Let's do it with the 3 camera. Let's do it with the other 3 camera. This is Stephenson's link, which is what Puff uses, but Puff's Stephenson's link's on the inside. So the driving rods are on the outside, but the valve linkage is on the inside. Big green signal coming into Grantham. NJT said Puff can have all its lines since it's a small system. Yeah, I think it could. I think there's a diversion, I think. So I think it's only got 3 lines, maybe 4. Richard says, should we be wearing earplugs? No, liking the sound. Earplugs on the steam engine's an interesting thing, actually. I know some of our crews do wear them. I tend not to. I've already got tinnitus. It's not going to make it any worse. My tinnitus doesn't come from trains. My tinnitus comes from far too much music. Very loud music. Being a fan of techno and hard techno and trance and hard trance and acid trance and There's only one way to play that stuff. So it is 4 NJT, 1 long one, 1 medium one and 2 short ones. Ant-Man says, understand that Scotsman was a pet project originally. Oh, I think it still is. Yeah, it's a 100th anniversary project. And I think it really makes up for the kind of poor one that came out in TSC, to be honest. That one was a bit... This one's quite good. Richard said, hope all went well at the doctor's. I have bronchitis and tonsillitis. And I'm on rather a large dose of penicillin twice a day now for the next 30 days. The doctor did actually say I was relatively close to having pneumonia, but not quite. So I get to stay at a hospital. Yeah, Alfie, I agree. Give World of Subways a run for its money. World of Subways is an interesting game because it started out as quite a serious train simulator, and it became an arcade game. Wait for gap. Off our way to Peterborough now for our last station, which is a little while away, but it won't take us long at this speed. NJTE says we could also include the weekend late night schedule where the red line remains but the yellow and blue line combine to become the blue line. It's kind of funny. Just like the Dirt series of games, says NJTE. I'll look like him soon when my grey hair falls out. There we go, 65 up a 0.5% gradient, that's not bad. Heading our run to Peterborough. In Australia, Peterborough is quite a different place, it's in the desert. It doesn't look nice and lush and green like this does. Waiting for mods to come out for this thing to make the 4472 Apple Green version. Because that's the one we all know. She's slowing down on the gradient now. Give it a bit more. Don't want to overwhelm its ability to make steam. Seemingly got a yellow coming in the distance. Alphine says, honestly, I'd love for DTD to do all the World of Subway routes. That would be amazing. I wonder what would happen if they did that. I wonder if... it's Aerosoft, isn't it? I wonder if Aerosoft would get a bit mad at them. One of those things, it could be a bit like the small business mentality where someone goes, you know, there's a really nice shop there and they make a really nice food, whatever food takes your fancy, and they go, I'll set up a shop right next door to them and we'll both do well. And the reality is they both fail because they diluted the market too much. Would that happen if DTG made the same routes that Aerosoft made? Similar with Simrail, if Simrail currently is making routes that are purely based in areas that DTG don't touch, if Simrail started making routes in the UK and the US, would they sell? Would they both sell enough? Would they succeed? It's a very interesting question. It's hard to say. NJT says Dirt went from a relatively serious rally racing sim to an arcade game with no rally racing. See you later, Ant-Man. We're almost at the end of this run. We should see the barber pole light up for Peterborough quite soon. Want to be a bit careful with your head out. This is why I turn the light on, by the way, so I can still see when I'm in a tunnel. Plus says there's a US route for Simrail in the works. Yeah, I've heard that. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, whether there really is room for the two or not. There's Run 8, which is in quite a few US routes, and there's a little bit of crossover between Run 8 in CSX territory with DTG, but not much. And Run 8, you need to be a pretty serious kind of a person to operate Run 8 successfully. It's a very simulator. It's very unforgiving. If you don't know trains, you probably won't even get them to move in Run 8, let alone be playable. So we'll see what happens with Simrail. It'll be interesting. I'll probably be part of the Shut Up and Take My Money Brigade. Just to try it. Because I don't play Simrail very much because I just haven't got time to learn the check signalling and the mechanics of how it works and things like that. But if I came into a territory that I already understand reasonably well, then I would expect I'd probably play it a bit more. So, we'll see. I've discovered there's some dirt on my monitor. Be very careful because it's a very bloody delicate monitor. Do I have a fireman? I do. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there. In fact, he's changed because he was dirty before. He was in dirty overalls. Now he's in clean clothes. He's purple gear. But no, there's no coal shoveling as yet. There's no animation for that. I think the main reason for that, and this is not insider knowledge, but if you look at the shape of the firebox door and its height from the firebox to the footplate, I reckon the shoveling from the Jubilee or the 8F would probably end up putting the shovel in about the height of the hob, which is this tray above the door. It's called the hob. It's called the hob because it cooks things. You can cook your lunch up there, you can put your teapot up there, your coffee pot, whatever suits your fancy. And it's very, very hot, so it's excellent for cooking things. I use the hob on our locomotives to cook my lunch all the time. And I think not having any animation on the fireman, I reckon it's a good call. So until they've got the time and the inclination to actually make it work properly, I prefer the guy to just sit in the seat and do nothing, to be honest. I think I quite like that. A little while to go yet. Yeah, OMSI 3 would be good. I don't know that DTG would go into the bus market, but I don't think I'd ever say no. There are some fairly successful ones. I think making a version of OMSI that was perhaps a little bit like the way Truck Simulator works could be good, where it condenses the action a little bit. You could certainly use the engine that Truck Simulator is using for something like OMSI, because they've got things like rotating wheels and things figured out quite well. They've got drivability figured out quite well, and buses, to all intents and purposes, are a rigid truck. I don't play OMSI very much because it doesn't like my computer very much. I can play it quite fine, but I can't stream it. Because it works lovely. I've got a 5K widescreen monitor that sort of goes out, and when I'm streaming I play in a 2K zone in the middle. OMSI doesn't like being in the 2K zone in the middle. I can force it there, but it... to say it shits itself is a mild thing. Half the game thinks it's 5K, the other half thinks it's 2K, and it just goes poorly. And if I tried to stream the full 5K experience, I mean, bandwidth-wise, I think I'd struggle to push that out, even though I've got gigabit down and 100 meg up. I think I'd actually still struggle to push it out. And YouTube doesn't like 5K very much. There's quite a good OMSI Australian route based in Sydney. When as a Melbourne person, it pains me to say something in Sydney is good, but it is. When I went into the 8 key there, get out in front of this train. Since we've got a nice straight bit of track, we'll just get out in front and try one of these. Didn't work so well. Let's try that again. Let's see if I can get the mouse steady this time. No curve. Gentle curve, albeit, but still a curve. Straight bit. Turn here and start getting this right. I think we're about spot on. Good enough anyway. Do with a lot of new content, but I agree it needs a new game, it needs a new engine. Mr. Mayhem says the detail on this locomotive is crazy. It is indeed. This really shows off what this game engine can do. Especially at speed. Managing to do all that without going into horrible blurriness. Richard says, still with me on the too thick overhead catenary. Yeah, I think that it's too heavy now. That's just my feeling. Excuse me. I understand why they did it, but I think maybe somewhere halfway between what they had before and this might be better. I think this is too thick. You certainly see the detail now, but it feels like TSC. Whereas the other one felt quite delicate. It has fixed some of the anti-aliasing issues with it though, which is good. That's quite welcome. And for those that are curious, we are doing the ton, 100 miles an hour. And we've got a little while to go yet. JT says, we haven't gotten a new OMSI because the dev team for it no longer exists. Yeah, I think so. OMSI is a bit weird, especially on modern hardware. It just doesn't cope. I'm actually tempted to take my old motherboarded card and build a second, less capable PC to run OMSI and some of the other older games, and maybe keep Windows 7 or Windows 10 on it. Because there's quite a few of the older games I have that really hate Windows 11. In fact, OMSI's graphics are so piss weak, I could probably buy one of those little NUC PCs to run it. Like a little thing. Hello, Luke. Why do you think it's train shit world? That's not very nice. What do you think's bad about it? Alphine says the dev team for OMSI is gone, but wasn't Lotus supposed to come out? I haven't actually heard of Lotus. Hello, Daniel Robert Jowett. How are you? We are approaching Peterborough at the end of rather a long run where we rescued another train. Keep a little bit of an eye on the map because we are getting a little close to Peterborough now. Country lane crossing. So country, there's weeds growing in the road. It's like the roads around here. Go on, open up. You know you want to. Go on. Don't leave me hanging. Uh-oh, I've got a yellow signal coming. It worked, yay! I was worried that I was getting so far away from the train then I was going to have a problem. Can we see the coffee shop? We can go and do that at Peterborough, why not? Might have to return to free roam to do it, but we can certainly have a look. Glad you're good, Daniel. This might be a good time to start to slow down, in fact. A little bit of braking on. Two yellows in a row. I better put a lot of braking on. The next yellow went away, but we're clearly catching up with something. Panting away, pumping the brakes back up. Very far from Peterborough now. How can I tell my current speed? Well, I've got it on the rail driver sitting next to me. But we've also got a speedometer in the cab. Up here. Get to this water. This is the new water. You look down, if I get the angle right, so you can actually look down into it. You can see what's in there. And when there's weeds and stuff growing under the water, I don't think there is any in this pond. But when you can see down into it, you can see it quite nicely. I'm really liking the new water. Before. The only challenge with Rail Driver, I'll find fish. Bring the other franchise in. I don't think they're developing that anymore, but yeah, you could chuck some fish in there, why not? It's not as though they haven't got the graphics and the animations. Rail Driver does work fine with TSW4. The only thing that doesn't work properly with Rail Driver now is the list of trains that it supports, because the DLC manager gets in the way. That's been rolled out to all platforms now. This thing was a bit close, isn't it? I reckon you whack your head on that. Bonk. Oh, I took my head off. Uh-oh. One of the gates is open. Multi-gate. Broken gate. The only drama I have with my rail driver these days is it's a USB 1.0 device, and Windows 11 doesn't like it much. The version that you can buy now is 1.1, which is the minimum officially supported by Windows 11. I asked Pi if there was an upgrade path and got back the response by a new one. It's like, yeah, it's helpful. But I'm actually quite impressed with Raildriver. It's the only PC peripheral I've had that I've had since, I get it, 2001. I got it to play MSGS when it first came out. Well, I've literally had it for 22 years and it still works. Can't say that for any other PC peripheral that I've had throughout that time. Laptop running Windows XP that I keep for MSTS. On those rare occasions that I stream MSTS, I use the real version. I don't use OpenVPE. Not a lot of traffic on this road. I have to open the gate. GT asked when am I doing a fishing stream. I have got the game. I never really got into it. I played it a couple of times. So train simulator and fishing, you reckon? Change the name of the channel. My channel name started as a joke to annoy Matt. And then it stuck. Now I'm kind of stuck with it. It's a bit limiting because, of course, you know, when I start doing buses and trucks and things like that, people go, "But that's not a train." Oh, yeah, good on you. Alfine asks, do I think TSW4 will sell more than TSW3 or the same? Why or why not? It's an interesting question that I don't really know the answer to. Personally, I think there's enough improvements in core that justify upgrading. Particularly if you buy one of the editions. If you were buying the game by itself, you weren't interested in any of the TSW4 routes, it's a pretty hard sell. But if you're interested in any of the 3 routes, then it's an alright sell. It's okay. Will it sell more? I guess every iteration does after a while. This OBS is, I'm just looking at my stream monitor, it's looking a little bit jittery. Open it up on my phone, but my phone's gone flat. If OBS, I don't know how the stream's going, but the stream monitor's jittery. The game actually isn't. It's strange. Oh, I wonder if I haven't limited the frame rate. No? It's under the 60s, it should be alright. Oh well, whatever. Train fishing driver, says Richard. Yeah. Kind of funny. Don't let me do anything then. Stream is fine. Thank you, Michael. Glad you're still with us. I think Michael's probably the longest person who's been here since the start. You don't miss Benny. Good to hear it's good in Rotterdam. So someone at my age, it still absolutely fascinates me. And I know how it all works because I was actually involved in the start of the internet in Australia on the periphery of it, working in a university. It amazes me that you can just play a game and stream it all over the planet. It just still amuses me. Quite close to Peterborough now. I'm going to start seeing the yards soon. Stream is good, says Alphine. Same here with Len, who also, I think, finds it amusing that we can do things like this. I can remember when it was actually hard to phone someone in another country, let alone do this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are the longest, what's the best way to put it, the longest serving viewer? I don't know. I don't know how you'd say it, but yeah. You have been around for a long time. Because this channel sort of started as something to do during lockdown, back in those lovely times that we all enjoyed so much. And it's just sort of progressed. I'm not quite happy with it. It grows slowly, but steadily. I'm quite happy with it. I don't feel any great push to change what I do, to try and suddenly appeal to more people. The speedo still looks so weird. The thing I think's weird is this thing. I mean, it really is like that. I've looked at pictures and I've looked at videos. He's just sitting there on his curved bracket. Yeah, whatever. What's there? Ben says I joined from your New York City video with New York City short. I've popped up a few New York City shorts, things that I've found on my phone. I'm relatively amused at the views and growth that shorts get. They usually just pop up one every day or so. I've got a little bit more from New York that I can put up at some point. For our approach into Peterborough. In the more modern trains, I'd quite happily thunder into Peterborough at 50 mile an hour, but not in Scotsman. It's not going to stop. It's going to go straight through out the other side. How cool. Semaphore on the route. Area will probably end, Alphine, so I'll come back in free roam if it does. We'll have a quick coffee shop. If it doesn't let me come back in free roam, we'll just start on foot and come and look at the coffee. We'll make it happen one way or another. burp as we go under the bridge there. Down to the end. Sneezes, lovely. And the same again, it got sneezed on. Doing well. So many sneezes. Welcome to Peterborough, folks. Actually, let me go and have a look at the coffee shop before we close the doors, and that won't kick me out of the scenario. I hope. Good work, you've reached your destination. Which side's the coffee shop on? It's on this side? Oh, let me out. That's okay. Continue. What'd we get? Platinum! Yay! I got a platinum and I was speeding that much. I lost 7,000 points and I still got one. Don't adjust checkpoint. No, let's just go. We'll go back in there on foot and we'll go and find the coffee shop. To the trains. Choose a route. East Coast Main Line. Timetable on foot. At the other end. 10 o'clock will be fine. And we'll come back. Pussycat. Hello, Pussycat. And biohazard coffee cups. Love it. Could I have a macchiato, mate? Get off the phone, make me a coffee. Some pastries and things. Impressed. You can make coffee while you're on the phone. It's clearly because he's from the ponytail generation. Is there another coffee shop here? I kind of thought there's two. Maybe it's at Doncaster, the other one. Is there another one? Let's have a look. There we go. There's a sandwich shop. That's what I'm looking for. Can we get in line? Let's just push in. Hello, mate. How you doing? We have a jawbreaker? Better make it two. I'm hungry. There is, of course, the saucy tomato, the hammy McHam. So that would be the hammy McHam face, surely. Donuts, cookies, extra cheese, some bacon, some tomatoes, some salami. Looks kind of like that shop we won't mention because, you know, they're not giving me any money, so why would I sell things for them? Oi, you. Give me your coat. Take it off. Come on, take it off. I want your coat. I like it. I want it. I'm not listening, are you? Just going to ignore me. That's fair. Remember, mate, train stations are dangerous places. Like your fingernails. How can we go? We can't go out there. That's sad. There's another sand wedge, but we can't get there. No. I wonder if they modelled it. That'd be funny. DGTV. There you go. Just run across platforms like this. Trains. Perfectly safe. Just curious if there's any shops over this side. The vending machine. What's in the vending machine? Anything? Oh, there is stuff in the vending machine. That's a nice change. Dove cola. Food. There's mole. Tap water. That's clever. I like that. The tap water in bottles. That is exactly what you get. I actually work for a utility. Hey. I think Flying Scotsman just came in. Let's go have a look. It's a made-up DTG ad. You do see real ones depending on what country you're in. Look at that. It was Flying Scotsman that just came in. Not me though. It's got a girly driver. Let's go say hello. As you do. Oh. Did I time that poorly or what? Just as the AI's vanished. Oh well. They do vanish at the end of their runs. But people wanted to see this thing on Antelope Valley, didn't they? So let's go and do that. We'll do a pretty quick run because I've got some stuff I need to do. So let's go to the trains, choose a route, Antelope Valley, timetable. We'll do a really quick one. Let's pick a metro link. Actually, let's do an on foot. Not at Lancaster. We're going to go up to Los Angeles. 10 o'clock will do fine. And it has to be clear. It's California. Nothing else ever happens in California. So here we are. We're all going to die. Let's just come down a bit and let's press tab. Spawn a new train. Scotsman. Scotsman with 11 because that'll fit better here. Spawn. Let's put it right there. So we're spawned in Scotsman in timetable mode. Now what I need to do is put a path on it. I can't set a path yet because I haven't taken over a train. I need to do that first. Crap for young players. I have to take over the train. Now I'll be able to put a path on it. Now, we have to set the 2, don't I? So if we go up, take it up to, it's about Hollywood somewhere, isn't it? Just make that a bit coarser. I think. Let's take it up to here. Unreachable. Okay, what about here? Yep, we're going there. Good stuff. Alright, release the train brake. I'll let the people in, I suppose. What do you reckon? Let's get into the English train. You know what? It's not that surprising, really. Still pumping brakes. Something I was going to do, I was going to show people the, there's the AWS isolation switch. There's not much point doing it now. And selling the cocks down there. I don't have a fireman in free roam. That's interesting. Where's my fire going to come from? Clearly I have fire. Here we go. Scotsman in America. Michael's going to have to leave soon. Len's off to bed. Good night. Hey, 35th graduation reunion. That sounds awesome. No, I'm not, NJTE. I'm running the release preview version, and I already have the TSW3 stuff. I'm allowed to stream with this version, just saying. That's what it was given to us for, making content and streaming. So yes, you can have everything. Normal release time, Steam anyway, about 3 o'clock in the morning for me. So if you convert 3 o'clock Australian Eastern, is it green? It is. If you convert 3 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, whatever your time zone is, you'll probably get the pretty good approximation of the release time. Say hello to the hot dog guy. G'day, hot dog guy. Look, there's a train. I do normally stream at this time, either on Saturday or Sunday, depending on my real railway shifts. I know steam engines have to do the 4 whistles. Seriously big truck. A bit overgrown. Such a little bridge. Coaster Coaster. Yes, I do in fact have Train Sim World 4, and we're currently running Flying Scotsman on the Antelope line. Because we can, because this is a Flying Scotsman day. The ambassadors that went off to an ambassador event got merch. I didn't. I asked permission if I could make my own, and they said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I got given the proper artwork for it, and I made my own. Because I felt I was missing out. Let's open her up. We're allowed to do 50 mile an hour here, and we're up a pretty hectic gradient, so we all know steam engines aren't that good at gradients. It's good to see a lack of water in the LA River. how you'd cope in the LA summer heat in un-air-conditioned English carriages. I think that might get just a little bit warm, don't you? Through the maintenance yard. Still climbing. She's maintaining her speed, but she's not really gaining anything. Say hello to all the people in the maintenance depot. We're going, what the? What's that thing? Alphine says the LA River is flowing with homelessness. It's sad. I hope they don't get killed, actually, because the LA River does fill up occasionally. Not very often, but very occasionally it does. Mr. Coaster Coaster says they did bring the loco to America. They did indeed. They brought the whole train. Came to Australia too in 1988. Can't actually remember what year it went to America. Those cars look funny with steam on them, don't they? I've always had that problem with glass. It's funny when the steam's over the top of it. The sky is a little bit different in this lighting system. So it does try to balance the daylight and nighting? Is that a good way to say it? I don't know. We're not very far away from our stop, are we? I don't think. Halfway. I'd rather be going up there today because I have something to do with my other half and she will start getting very subtle shortly. Coast to coaster for 3 routes. It's about the same as buying 1.5 routes or maybe 2 routes depending on where you live. So I don't think it's too expensive at all. And it's on sale on Steam right now. They've got new volumetric clouds in the sky as well. They actually are quite different. Coming up to our stop. NJT says, wonder why DTG showing forecast sets and it never happens. Apparently it does. There actually is a Metrolink guy in the beta group. And they've got quite a lot of the formations that you might see. Not often, but you might see. Yeah, but then that's not fair, Mr. Coaster Coaster, because you've got to buy more hardware. You can take away Train Sim World 3. You can uninstall all of its DLCs to recover the space and then put on TSW4 and the DLCs will come for TSW4. Keep TSW3 installed until you've transferred your transferred over your profile. Faced by a Metrolink. There are longer ones in JTE. CD Keys is a site that buys keys from other regions. Sometimes you you actually get a real key that you can use, and sometimes you get a Steam account that you have to log into to play. I would be surprised if they backport TOD 4 I wonder if it'll let me go up to the station. Let's go up to the station. I meant to stop here, but the station's just up there, so we'll go to the station. I can't see how it'll stop me, because, you know, there's no signal between me and the station. I meant to put the stop at the station, I missed. That's okay. I didn't know the barber pole increased in height as you went away from where you're supposed to stop. That's cute. I've never seen that. Yeah, I think I'll be able to get into the station, judging by how far away that red is. So we'll pull in up there, and that'll be it for today's stream. Hello, Benjamin's brain in a jar. It does stand for time of day. It's the lighting system that they're using in Unreal, that GTG have put together. I have a bell, so they'll just have to be sensible. Sorry, Americans, you have to be sensible and look after yourselves. Sorry about that. Can't warn you we're coming. Mind you, who'd not notice a steam engine? Jump out. Could open the door, shouldn't I? Imagine getting in there from an American platform. Hello, mysteriously transplanted English people who are now in America. You got teleported here. Sorry. Morning. Hello. How you doing? Enjoying the game? Enjoying the stream? Hopefully. No smoking city buses. Sounds kind of cool though. Anyway, that's about it for today. So we've seen Flying Scotsman in Flying Scotsman country, and we've seen Flying Scotsman in America. So that'll do for today. Next Sunday, I'm pretty sure I'm on a real train, so it'll probably be on Saturday, the stream, and I will post what it's going to be. I think Antelope Valley would be a good one to run, and I think we might do some commuter and maybe a bit of freight. We haven't done some freight for a while, so I think that will be pretty cool. Better have the passports ready, says Mr. Coaster Coaster. Bus sim confirmed. Oh, there's an interesting concept. Anyway, have a lovely weekend, folks. Enjoy whatever's left of it for you. I'm going to go away now and finish building a cat run, which my other half is subtly sitting next to me going, so when are we starting that then? All right. Have fun, folks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you're not subscribed, then think about subscribing to the channel, and we shall see you later. Bye. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I always like to get your feedback in the form of likes and comments because they help me understand what you want. Give the channel a subscribe and click on the tinkly things so you don't miss out on any new stuff. And thanks for your ongoing support. And please, be safe out there.